Guys, welcome back to Bare Knuckle Scene UK. We've got the fourth instalment of the podcast interviews today with Mr. Scott Gray, none other than Scotty G. Scotty, how are you, pal?
I'm good. Thank you very much, James. How's you?
Yeah, really, really good, mate. It's good to see you and good to speak to you as well. So what we
Yeah,
do, Scotty,
definitely.
what we do, mate, is basically talk about sort of where beginnings was for you. So where your hometown growing up as a kid into teenage years.
Well, right. Well, I grew up in the East End of Newcastle, in a place called Walker. Um, Quite a rough. It is. It's a really rough place. It was a really rough place, to be honest. Um, I mean, there was a famous road called Hexham Avenue where if you went down there like when you were like 10, 11 on your bike, there was a family called the Hellenses, and if you went down there, they would take it off you, you know. But and there was quite a few brothers. There was Peter, Lee, and Pedja. And Pedja was the hardest. And he took that many batterings over the years. He was really, really, really hard, you know. But as time went on, I mean, I had a good childhood. I had a good upbringing. My mum and dad were straight as a die. You know, they weren't criminally minded at all, you know. So, but my brother was. And there was a big age gap between me and my brother, you see. There was like a 13-year age gap between me. And all I seen when I was like younger was like him like committing crime and, you know, and seeing loads of money and fast cars and this, that, and the other. And how can you not look up to that? You know, he was a doorman at 18 on the Ritzy nightclub, you know. And obviously I looked up to him, you know, because he was a hard man. I mean, he's in jail now. He's doing 15 years for armed robbery. But yeah, I had a good childhood, and I did go to Battle Hill Boxing Club from about 11 to 15. I had 3 amateur fights, won 2, lost 1. They probably were recorded, but I mean, back then, you know, they would have been recorded on like, you know, video recorders or whatever, you know. So getting your hands on that would have been like, you know, you just impossible, really, like so, you know. But yeah, but other than that, I got an apprenticeship when I was 16 as a commercial plumbing and heating engineer. And obviously I worked from being 16, and then I trained from being 16 with mate Ian Brawley, were best mates. We're falling out now, like. But we used to go to the after work. It was like just like a routine, you know. The gym. Straight, I used to pick them up, go to the gym. Monday to Friday, just like clockwork, you know. And war in good nick. What You know, I mean, I got up to like benching 160 kg on the bench press, you know, and when the crash happened in 2006, that was when things sort of changed for me.
Scotty, so when you said there when you were going to the gym, you were doing your apprenticeship and then training afterwards, and you know really into it. Was that then sort of late teens, early 20s?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then about 2006, I was about 21. In the crash happened, and my brother is very manipulative, you know. Um, it's on his well, he's down as a psychopath, basically on his record, you know. And he's what it says on his thing is he's good at getting people to do things what he wants them to do.
Without doing it himself, yeah.
Yeah. And it was alleged he was selling drugs, you know. I mean, he got done for selling drugs, class A's, crack cocaine. And he said in '06, listen, look, the work's fucked now, so why don't you come in with me? Basically, he wanted to be his enforcer. His famous words were, I'll get walk hit to fuck you. You know? And I'll go back to that family I told you about, the Hellensies. I battered every single one of them. I had my revenge on them. Because they used to come and obviously buy off War Kid, you know. And I battered Peter because he was soft as shite anyway. Then Lee was the next one. He was a little bit older than me. I battered him, but the best fight I've ever had was outside a shop in Walker with Pedja Helens. And it went on for about it went on for about 10, 15 minutes. And you know, I had him down on the ground, and I had my foot on his neck, and I says, "Fucking look, I just give in," and he wouldn't, and he actually got his legs up. I don't know how he done it, but he had got his legs up around my neck like that, and I ended up having to choke him out and like knock him out for him to give in, you know. He ended up getting kneecapped and everything later on off other people, like due to other things, you know. He's dead now, like God rest his soul, like. But he was a hard man. And,
So when you said then, Scotty, so when obviously you said 2006, the crash of, you know, it was bad for a lot of people, wasn't it, and work and stuff. So your brother said, right, our kids, come with me. We can work together and everything else. So at that point, then around this sort of time,
yeah,
what did you end up then having to serve time yourself? Did that catch up with you? Did you, because I know you said before you could look up to all of the glamour side of it. So the fact that, nice cars and clothes and money, and you see that, but obviously there's the flip side of the coin, isn't there, as well, which is doing time.
Well, there is, yeah. Uh, I did. I'll go back a little bit. I'll go back a little bit first. I did do the clubbing scene. The rave that like it was sort of the last of the rave scene. Rave
Mid-90s.
scene.
Yeah.
Rock shots and Saturday night, and it was a rave night. It was always about that. It was good in there, like really really good. Everyone was on.
Them were the days, Scotty. Yeah, them were the
Oh
days.
yeah, it was like
Showing our age.
it was sort of the back end of the raves, rave scene. I call it. Because obviously the main part was the 80s, but I was too young then. But I caught the back end of it, and there was then. But there was an incident at a nightclub called Foundation, and I ended up getting into a fight with this lad in the nightclub. But I knew the bouncers on the nightclub, Gary Furby, who's just handed the governor title back in.
Yeah,
Gary Furby, and there was another one, Joe Wilson. And I knew the bouncers on there, and I was pals with them, So we used to talk to them all the time. And I got into a fight, and the bouncers have rushed in, and Gary hasn't realised who I was, and I got dragged the full length of the fucking nightclub by Gary Furby by my feet outside, with this, but it ended up being with this other lad. And to look at the lad, you wouldn't think he was much, but I tell you, it was that was one of the hardest fights I've had as well. Like,
did that go off outside the club then? Once you were out,
it was outside the club, and the bouncers were egging us on, saying, "Go on, Scott, and go on, doom, go on, doom." Then, and we started fighting, and it went on for about 10, 15 minutes. Fucking, I smashed him off a fucking taxi windscreen. He smashed me off the shutters, and then it ended badly, really, because I've slipped and went down on one knee, and he's went to bite me ear, and I didn't want them to do it, but without me, I didn't ask him to do it, but he's went to bite me ear, and Gary Furby's seen this, and he's jumped in, he stepped in, and gave the kid a right hook to the ribs, and put him on his knees, and then the other bouncer, Joe Wilson's, ran up and just booted him clean in the face like that. Well, the kid was linked up with a very well-known family from the West End of Newcastle, and they come down with shooters, and Gary Furby and Joe Wilson, they had to leave the nightclub. There was murders on. But actually, a few months later, I end up getting to know the lad and ended up being pals with him.
I was going to
Funny
say,
enough.
was there any altercations for you after the fight? Then, obviously,
No, there wasn't. I met him. I met him in an after party, and we just we just got on. We just it was just mad. It was just like it had never happened, and we ended up being pals. We got on, you know. We're all right. We're cush. We're sound. But the rave scene, like I'd stopped going out by the time I got in with War Kid. I wasn't going. I wasn't going clubbing then. That had finished for me then.
I was going to say, because I've got like memories of back in the 90s and the club scene and the rave scene, and we used to go out of town a lot. So we'd go from Hull to Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, sometimes Newcastle as well for a night out, down to
Yeah.
London. We'd go following the DJs basically from the clubs. But back then, you'd got your super clubs like Cream and Miss
Well,
Money Penny.
I went to Creamfields 2000 and 2001 on the airfield.
Yeah,
Sonic was playing. Oh, it was amazing, you know. Seeing the Cyber Kids all glued up, all glued up. You
yeah.
know, it was mad. Fucking, oh, it was great times, like, actually, looking back.
Yeah, I've got amazing, amazing memories. The only things that I've got that I look back at in a bad light is because, as you'll know, the rave scene, the club scene in that time, sort of early midnight, it was all about pills and ecstasy, and
Yeah.
so many people in time that you found, and you'd say, "Oh, I've not seen such and such for a while," and then you find out, "Oh no, you know, they'd had too many pills or they had a bad pill or," and it got to a point where, that, I mean, it might be half a pill or one pill on your first time, you have the most amazing time. And then these guys were like 15, 20 pills a night, and
Uh,
always trying to then chase that first,
well,
that
you can
first
only
high.
get so high. You can only
Yeah.
get so high, you know, and you can only get so high, and then that's it.
Yeah, I found mid to late 90s there were a few people, and that's when I just went, nah, enough's enough. The last big sort of night that I had was Millennium on New Year's Eve, Millennium Eve, and I was at Cream in Liverpool for that. But that was the last
Uh,
sort, the last big one. But it's interesting because obviously we're similar age, so we've been, seen the same scene there completely. So what point then, Scotty, did it get that? So obviously you've had that altercation. You've then found that you sound with this guy after the nightclub incident. So what point then did you get to a point where you thought, right, okay, I'm enjoying this scrapping now. Whether that's street fighting or wherever. And obviously you'd got your boxing background as well from being younger. So when did you then think, right, I'm going to get myself back into the gym. I want to get myself fit and I want to, move forward that way. Or, what
oh, I
sort of
mean,
happened?
all through like when I was clubbing, I was still going to the gym.
Yeah,
I was always still at the gym. From 16 all the way through, well, like all the way through, all the way through my 20s and 30s. But what happened was, 2006, me and my brother done a robbery. on a Bookies in Newcastle. And I didn't want to do it. I had, because it was War-Kid's fault, because I had a bad feeling about it from the start. I said to him, because what happened was he blew all his money with some daft lass from over Gateshead. He bought a BM, and I still had plenty of money. And I says, listen, I says, I didn't need to date. I says, I'm sound. I says, he says, how am I, man? I'll just date, man, you know? And of course, I've ended up doing it, haven't I? And how unlucky it was when we've come out the Bookies and ran through a cut to the getaway car, and is what taking my balaclavas off, getting in the car. There was a bloke looking out the window, and it was just totally unbelievable. He was a sergeant in the British Transport Police, and he had nicked War-Kid 4 years previously, and he recognised him. And that's we got caught, because the next day we're all over the papers. You know, they were crashing 40 houses for it. We went to this. Well, it was alleged we got nicked for Bookies and 2 Securico vans filling cash points up. So them were the 3 charges that we got done for: the Bookies and 2 Securico vans. And it was the 31st of July. I'll never forget it, because it's my lass's birthday, actually. I wasn't with her then, but that was the date, and it was boiling hot. And we're in Walker, and we're in this house, and there was only 3 houses, and War-Kid had bought a new SIM card that day, and nobody had the number. And he rang this kid to get something sorted for to get away. And I tell him it was the wrong kid to ring, because he was a wrong one, you know. And 10 minutes later, all he heard was bum 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 bum, car doors. Well, War-Kid was in the doorway, and I was sitting in the lounge, like in the living room. So when the busies have crashed in, War-Kid's put his phone in one of the jackets that was hanging up there, and he's went upstairs and hid in the loft. I've went out the back and just started hopping fences, and And it was it was kind of funny actually. This old blokes come out in a string vest saying, "What you doing in? What you fucking doing in here?" Like I says, "Listen, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm just getting chased off a couple of kids. It's crushed. Don't worry about it. You know, don't worry about it." Little did I know there was a fucking helicopter hovering above, and fucking armed response had the full fucking street cordoned off outside. So, and I'll never forget, it was No Shields Busies that were after with for us. And I've went to jump over the fence, and the Busies tried to grab me arms, but with it being that hot, I was sweating off running, and I've slipped out his arms. So then I've kicked the door, the wooden door through, ran out into the street, and just started to run. But when I've seen like the amount of busies, and they just thought they had the red dots on us, and then the sergeant from North Shields busy station run and tackled us. He tasered us as well, and CS gassed us. He didn't need to do that like either, but he did. He did, and hide us in the back of the van. And they were going to have to get a negotiator, so that was me. I was took away then, and they were going to have to get a negotiator to get our kid out the loft. But it didn't actually come to that. They said, we'll send the dogs up. And he says, fucking send one. But he ended up coming down anyway. And they had to get an extension. A 12-hour extension, because it only holds you for 24 hours, and then they've got to charge you or let you go, you know, as you know. And they got an extension off the superintendent, 12 hours, and then they charged me. So we went to court, and I got two not guilties on the Securico vans, but a guilty on the bookies. And my brother got the same. And it was around about the time, I don't know if you're familiar about the IPP sentences.
Yeah.
Indefinite public protection.
I can remember.
And there's 180. Well, the law passed in 2003, and then in about 05, 06, they were just giving them out willy nilly, and they were only meant originally for like sex offenders, like murderers, and really, really bad violent offenders. You know, people who like stab people up, got a 10 for it, got out, and then done it again. You know.
Yeah.
And my brother had only drugs on his record. The only violence he had on his record was in a fray from 1989, and he got a 3-year IPP, and he ended up, well, it's a 99-year sentence. That's what's classed as, basically. Right. You know, you haven't got a release date. You haven't got a release date. You're on a life license. You can't get it revoked after 10 years. if you're really good, you know. And he ended up serving 9.5 years of that 3.5 year. But in the court, I got 6 years, which I thought was well, I was expecting about 4 to 5, but fucking because there was no shooters needed.
Mm.
Didn't use shooters in the bookies, there was no shooters because I was in jail with kids, in fucking they were giving it the big and saying, oh fucking I robbed this bookies and I smashed the fucking bloke out of the heat and all that. You didn't need to do that.
Mm.
I'm not big in crime up, but it's just if you it's the words that you use in how you can take control of the place you're in, what you're robbing. You don't need to use violence. It's about the words that you use and the way you do it, the way you produce it. That gets the job done without having to bash anyone, because that's just extra jail.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, I'm not giving it the big one, but when the judge said, "Oh, I sentenced you to 6 years," that didn't really bother us that much. What bothered us was my mum and dad sitting there in their faces, and I just wanted to be took away because I couldn't look at them, because obviously they were straight as a die people, and they were, you know what I mean? It killed them basically,
I can imagine what that would do to you as well, seeing them in that position, and it must be, yeah, I can't even imagine, mate, to be honest, how tough that must have been, because they'll have just wanted the best for you, weren't they? And then all of a sudden the two boys are put away.
Oh well, exactly, that's it. And I mean, I went to Durham at first. Went in Durham. Ewing was the induction wing then. And my brother had been moved on to D wing, before me, and I was meant to go on to D wing with my brother, because there was like D wing, A wing, or B wing, and the rest. F wing was like for like the old people, like our old people, and like fucking people, people who like didn't really want to, like the soft hearted and stuff
Bit
like
more
that.
vulnerable, yeah.
A bit more vulnerable, aye. So like D and B wing were like the main wings, and A wing, but A wing was like, it was just full. It was the Cumbrian wing, really. We're all Cumbrians. And the screws, just to fuck with us, put us on Earwing with the Cumbrians. And it was 5 landings fucking high. And you couldn't get away with fucking out on there. It was shocking. Unreal. But it was all right. I got padded up with the lad from Whitehaven, and he was sound. Got on with him cush. And then I was on there for about 2 months, and then a screw come and got us, and moved us on to D-Wing. And I got padded up with an African lad, and it was his first time. Obviously, it was his first time in as well, but he was, the stories he told us was unreal, he was from Eritrea. And he, him and his 5 mates had like crossed the desert, and they'd had to drink their own piss and everything, like they stay alive. And one of them didn't make it. And he was doing 15 months. But he was a Christian, and every Sunday he was up at the crack of dawn, shaved, and the smile on his face because obviously it was going to church. Loved it. But he was a nice lad, and he was getting bullied because he had quite a bit of money on his canteen when I went with him, and people were starting to take the piss a bit, saying, "Oh, you buy this for me," and all that, So I put a stop to that when I went in with him, and then I ended up getting padded up with my brother. And I think I spent a year and a half in Durham, and then I went to Accrington. In Accrington, people didn't want to go to Accrington because Durham's Durham. You see, you cannot sit in each other's pads in Durham or nothing like that. But Accrington, if you've got Rick with people in Accrington, you're fucked, basically. I mean, I'll give you a prime example. There was a kid from South Shields called fucking Omar. It was his first time in, and he got done for selling drugs. Being on the rides, thinking he was this, that, and the other in Durham, thinking, oh, big man and all that. And when he went to Accrington, bumped into the kid who he'd had Rick with. Kid was just a little kid. And Omar's went, "How will I not fight you?" And he went, "What are you on about fighting?" He says, "No fighting up here, mate." He says, "I'll just fucking stab you to bits." And Omar had to go on numbers, protection. He had to go on the non-swing.
Yeah, it's crazy how it differs from one prison to another prison, and the way.
I mean, all that was missing from Accrington was burnt out cars. It was like an old council estate. It was just, you had because there were like billets, and you had G wing on one side and F wing on the other, and then were the two main wings, and I mean, there was seeing this one lad. He got done for pad thieving, which is a big no-no, And the screws used to just come and open your door, whether you like it or not. And the kid got sugar in hot water in his face. And it was horrible. It was a horrible sight. It was nasty. It was his face was just peeling off. It was nasty. really, really nasty. But it didn't matter whether you were big, you 19, you could have been 19 stone, anything. There was this big there was this big 6'4" kid from Hartlepool in there, and a kid ran up behind him and just stabbed him up the arse and just dropped him in a pool of blood. That happened as well. So and
how did it impact on you, Scotty? So like when obviously you said that your mum and dad completely straight, straight as a die. And then obviously, you looked up to your brother, so your brother had a lot of influence over you as well, and he'd
yeah,
gone down one path, and then you'd followed him down that path as well, because of the recession and stuff. So what was it like when your sentences came to an end then? So did you do six, or was it 6 do 3, or
yeah, I done 3, yeah, just over 3, just over 3, yeah. Beginning of 2010, I got out. The space hadn't hit then. It was like subbies. Not much heroin, and not much weed either, because it stayed in your system so people didn't really take it for the piss test. So it was
yeah,
mainly Subutex. And they were going for like £40 a tablet. £100 on New Year's Eve for one tablet. Aye, I mean, you would put like if you could, there was a lad, you could put four number 8s in his hand, and he would stab anyone up in the jail for you if you wanted him to. And he was 10 stone dripping wet. You know, and he was a homosexual as well, actually.
it's
You
crazy.
know,
Isn't it? The different, it's another world, isn't it?
he was a good friend. He was a good friend of mine. I mean, actually, what happened was when my brother ended up coming to Accrington, the lass he had got with was from Gateshead, Springwell, and a previous lad was in Accrington on the opposite wing to me, F wing. And obviously, when my brother got with his visits stopped because she was going up and taking drugs into him, you see. He wasn't really bothered so much about her, but because my brother got with her, the visits stopped. He wasn't happy, was he? He was foaming. And just before he got the he was hiding a lot of drugs about the wing, like this particular lad, actually. Him and another lad from Gateshead. And obviously the screws got onto it, and they ghosted them. And when my brother come to Accrington, they've passed each other coming in and out. So he's seen my brother coming into Accrington as he went out. So it didn't matter whether we was gone, you know. He went to home house, got on the phone and put a price on my brother's head. Tried to get some of the Geordie lads to do it. None of the Geordie lads would do it. None of the Mackhams. But there was loads of Stockton and Middlesbrough kids in. And I mean loads of them. And they didn't know me, brother. It was just business to them. Do you know what I mean? And my brother was on day wing. And that was the induction wing. And the door this one day, the doors got opened and three kids have come bursted in with ballies on, table legs, and toothbrush with razor blade melted in, and went for my brother. He's fought with a couple of them, battered one of them, and they've managed to get him a little bit there, but they've got him really well down there. He's got a big slice down there. And obviously, normally the rule is when you get slashed or whatever, you get shipped out. But apparently what he said was to the governor, look, I don't want to be shipped out. Put us on G-Wing, war kid. Well, that put a fucking lot of pressure on me because that kid in home house, he still had friends, in Accrington again. And in fact, the kids that done my brother were going to take me out because they heard he had a brother and they were going to try and take me out just for the sake of it, just so that I didn't try and do anything. But that didn't end up happening anyway. But that kid I was telling you about, the kid who was only 10 stone dripping wet, who would stab anyone up. I was good friends with him. Really, really good friends with him. And this lad didn't know. And he's approached him because he was on my wing, this kid. And he's went, listen, I'll give you phone number 8, subbies, if you've hot water, sugar, Scott and Shane. That's my brother Shane. And he's went, right, I'll do that. But he's come to me and he's marked my card and he's went, listen, look, that's what they've said they're going to do. What he wants us to do. He says, obviously, I'm not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? He says, but I've said I'm going to do it. So he doesn't get anyone else to do it. So, and he said to us, but if you want him done, just say the word and he'll be taken care of, So, seeing as my brother had been slashed, I thought he deserved it, So, I'm not proud of it, but my brother got slashed. And it's a hell of a slash. So, and they were going to sugar and hot water with. you know. So he ended up getting some of his own medicine, the kid, and then he got shipped out, and then that was the end of it. So
When you got out, Scotty, when was it when you got out then? Was it about 2010, 2011?
beginning of 210, yeah. The space hadn't hit then,
No.
so which I'm glad, like, because fucking, I mean, I've seen the videos and it's ruined the jails, the space.
Mm.
You know, it's disgusting. You know, it's whoever, you know, that stuff just, it's just, it's ruined. It's just absolutely ruined the jails. You know, I mean, people are, you know, people are getting punched in the face for like a joint, a space, you know, and things like that. You know, it's terrible. You know, but yeah, no, I got out at the beginning of 210, and I didn't want picked up because I just wanted to get out and make my own way back, and just like slowly come back to Newcastle. You know.
How was it then coming back out and then working your way back home again and obviously been back with your mum and dad at that point as well after um 3 years away as such, because like you said they were devastated before you went inside, so how was that coming back out to them at that point?
Oh, I mean, like, you know, I mean, me mom was bad. I mean, you know, me dad was a grumpy old bastard, like, you know, but he obviously was alright, you know. But they were over the moon when I got out, you know. They were really happy when that I got out, you know. And I tell them, I says, look, there's no way on earth I'll be going back there. You know, it's a mug's game, which it is. Jail is a mug's game. It's a waste of life. It's a total waste of life. I mean, some people actually enjoy it, you know, because they don't have to think for themselves, you know, they tell when to get up, you know, they tell when to eat. They get 3 square meals a day, get a shower. You know, so for some people, they like it, but it's a total waste of life, you know. And obviously, I haven't went back.
It,
And I,
it, it tends it tends to like fall into two categories. You get your category where you get your career criminals that sort of almost become institutionalized as well. But then um, the way I think a lot of people look is it's an occupational hazard. If you get caught, you've got to, you do the time, you do the crime, you do the time, and it's more. Well, if I get done, it doesn't matter anyway because I'm looked after inside. I know tons of people in there, so it's not like the way that the system is. There's not enough rehabilitation going on whatsoever, and
oh, you're totally right. I mean, there's no rehabilitation at all. It's just you know, they just you go in there and then the guy 45 quid and high out, and then that's it basically. You know, and you do your bit probation, and then that's it. But there's no rehabilitation like at all. You know,
no.
all the
And
way.
it's that you went in there, and like you say, you couldn't wait to get out. And you've said to your parents, "Not a chance on earth that I'm going to find myself back in that place." And um, so at that point, then Scotty, in your mind, had you sort of thought, right, whichever path my brother takes, I'm taking my own path now. At this point, had you sort of,
Oh yeah, but I mean, you see, I mean, even to this day now, the hassle I get off the busies is unbelievable. You know, like mostly due to my brother because they wanted him off the streets. The what in the in, well in the heart
Mm-hmm.
that's what they did. They got him off the streets, you know, completely off the streets. And I mean, there was an incident where I was 20-year old. I'll never forget it. It was Clifford Street Police Station, and police officer took us in to one side. I got pulled in the car when I was driving, and he took us into Clifford Street Police Station, and he went, "Listen," he says, I can listen. I want you. I can offer you money here. I can offer you £5,000 to set your kid up and put him away." And that happened 3 times. That